Well, thank you for staying with us. This week, the Supreme Court affirmed the election of Nasir Idris of the All Progressive Congress as the governor of Kebbi State. A five-member panel of the Apex Court, in an unanimous judgment on Friday, dismissed the appeal called by Bande Aminu, who was the candidate of the PDP in the last governorship election in the state. In other verdicts, the Apex Court affirmed the election of Mohammed Noah Yahaya of Gombe State, Abdullahi Sule of Nasarawa State, Sheriff Wuri of Delta State, Dakwo Abiodun of Ogun State. This is coming a week after the court ruled on the governorship election tussle in 9 states, including Kano and Plateau, whose governors Abba Kabir Yusuf and Caleb Mutfwang were earlier sacked by the Court of Appeal. I have joining me to discuss this Justice Ojeno, a lawyer and lead partner, Eco Solicitors and Advocates. Good evening and welcome to the show.
It's always my pleasure to join you.
All right, we were here last week, still on this matter. Here we are, and I guess we are yet to see the end of this matter as far as the election petitions are concerned. So let me have your view. How would you compare this ruling by the Supreme Court on Friday, to that of the last week in 8 states, right? Is there any unexpected outcomes? Did you see any unexpected outcome in the ruling?
Okay, for me, it was just all plain, all simple. All the outcomes were practically expected. It was not exactly like what happened last week when our nerves were not calmed at all.
Yeah.
Even though there were some pockets of protests with respect to the Nasarawa decision. But again, generally, it was exactly or almost exactly what we expected. And I'm very, very happy that gradually the docket of the Supreme Court is being emptied of the political cases, which have greatly and without disproportionately making the Supreme Court too busy to be able to handle what I consider more important things.
Speaking of having the court to be too busy, and one of the causes, if you ask me, is the issue of frivolous cases. Let's talk about this. I don't know, you're a lawyer, and I remember asking you this last week. Is there a way we can put a stop to frivolous petitions in the court and sanction the lawyers? The court now, the parties, the politicians, is there not a way, to put a stop and, have a less busy court cases and all of that?
Okay, for me, particularly, even the Supreme Court, let's look at how busy their dockets are. There are more than 8,000 cases now in the Supreme Court, and the way they work in panels. So now, thank God that the Supreme Court has its full complement of 21 justices. But again, when you say 21 justices, it doesn't mean they are all working 21 separate cases at a time. Most times they sit in panels of either 5 or 7. So the maximum they can be per time is 4 to handle cases. So, and we have more than 8,000. And to be able to exhaust one case, one docket, is very, very much hard work. So because of that, their work is very heavily cut out for them. But as per how to decongest the courts, and you have to tell politicians not to fight to finish, that's going to be very, very difficult. It's only on very few occasions that we have seen it at the presidential level in this country. In fact, given how old I am, I see just one, which was when President Jonathan said he is not going to fight President Buhari in 2015. That being the exception, it has always been the rule that whenever politicians indulge in political contests, they feel that the journey doesn't end when the umpire says it is a particular party is the winner. They feel that they must litigate it to the hilt. But I'm also happy that in Kogi State too, it looks like with the last election, the gladiators, they actually said that they are not going to contest against the person who is the present governor-elect. I pray that that is more the case. But again, in order for this to also be guaranteed, the umpire too must be seen to be above board in all circumstances. I think that may encourage a few of the politicians not to want to go the entire route. But otherwise, I see Nigerian politicians slugging it out completely. But and also, as for the members of my constituency, lawyers,
exactly,
they will still tell their clients to test it because miracles happen. Miracles happen.
So, you mentioned how difficult this can be, but just help make sense of this. How can let's talk about reforming of our judicial system generally. What are the challenges and the opportunity? Are there opportunities, to arrange this, to make it more, is it practicable now, or what should I use? How do we reform our judicial system?
Okay, one thing that I will miss a bit to also repeat is not all matters should end up at the Supreme Court. Matters should terminate at the Court of Appeal. We currently have a system in this country where every matter that originates from every remote part of this country has the potential of ending up at the Supreme Court, except for, of course, legislative matters that we see that end up at the Court of Appeal. The Supreme Court should have the power to be able to say, okay, on grounds of national policy, this matter, as has been decided by the Court of Appeal, we want to exercise our discretion to use our more experienced and wiser apparatus or experience to be able to check and decide on it, and to either affirm whatever it is that the Court of Appeal has decided or to upturn it, as we have seen in deserving cases. So once this, as a chief means, is put in place, I feel that the docket of the Supreme Court will be extremely decongested, and maybe the litigation industry will even also be a cash cow as it is in the United States. I'm also not just bringing this idea from my head. It is something that the United States of America in particular is currently enjoying. They have just 9 justices, and they have more than 300 million people as population, and they are extremely litigious. Pour coffee, they sue. You sneeze, they sue. You place a barrier where you're not supposed to place, they sue. Yet they don't have donkey years. They don't have a situation where matters are practically concluded by grandchildren or great-grandchildren of litigants in Nigeria potentially at the Supreme Court. So I feel that if that is done as a chief way, of course, the Supreme Court has also taking the opportunity to chastise lawyers when they bring frivolous actions. But that is not generally the case, because a lawyer must earn his fees. He must earn his fees. He must do the work. If a politician or anybody says, there's this in court, he must do the work. So it is for the judiciary to now say, I've heard your argument, I've heard the argument of the other lawyer. I feel that his argument holds more water and is more in accordance with the law, and I will rule in favor of that lawyer. But that a lawyer should not advise a client, or a lawyer should not contest a matter in court. Maybe that will be the end of democracy.
Really. Anyway, I for one, and I'm sure I'm speaking for so many Nigerians, are looking forward to the day elections. Nigerian election will not end in court. We are looking forward to that day.
It's my greatest prayer.
Is it possible?
It's my greatest prayer.
Is it possible?
Maybe that would be in heaven, Uhuru or El Dorado, but it should be greatly reduced.
All right. Let's take a short break. Our news continues in a moment. Stay with us.